has different parts of it that do different things, but they are in some way related to each other. So the lexicon is the part of Flex that is designed to handle information about words. It's the kind of information that you will see in a dictionary. So words and parts of words and their meanings and uses. Texts and words is used for recording, for working with transcriptions of entire vernacular texts. So it might be a song or a folk tale or your transcription of somebody's speech or prayer. And then each word can be tagged with its parts and the meaning of each part, and there's a place for a word-for-word translation into your language of analysis. Often English, but it might be Mandarin, it might be Burmese, it might be Japanese. But what we're going to be talking about is the notebook section, which is designed specifically for recording information about culture. But even though we're looking at that, the notebook section is related to every other section. And that's what I really like about Flex. It's not only good for recording cultural information and organizing it in a way that you can use it, but you can get cultural information while you're studying the language. You can study the language while you're getting cultural information. And later on we're going to be talking about, if you are recording language information, what are some of the kinds of things people say that can tell you a lot about language and culture at the same time. So, we talked about areas, and the way you go from one area to another is just to click on one of these boxes over here on the left. We'll talk about lists in a little bit. But within each area, there are also views. So, up there, under the word notebook, you see record, edit, browse, and document. Right now, we are in the record, edit view. Okay, and what we're looking at is a particular record. We're looking at, let's get rid of that then. Hopefully stay out of there. Sorry. So, over here is a record. Over here is sort of a short version of the browse view. So let's just talk about this. Record view. Sorry, my arm isn't long enough, so I'll try to use this. So, we've got a title for the record. And there's a date of the event itself. Now, what kind of record is this? There are a few different types. I mean, one of the kinds of records that you might have in your written up notes is an interview. That is actually sitting down talking with somebody. Another kind of record would be an observation. Another kind of record would be analysis. You know, you're sitting down and writing up about some part of culture. Then another question is, well, let's see, who actually made this note? Okay. Flex gives you the ability to work together with other people. So you're going to be using that with your work in this course. We're getting to send and receive later. But you, 2 people, 5 people, can work on the same project together. So we want to know who wrote this note. And that's what the researcher's field is. Next field down you see there is sources. So where did the information come from? From whom? And again, you can write down the names of the people who gave you the information. If it's an event, so let's say you're doing an interview with somebody, we'll do an interview with Hannah. Tell us about everything that happened at your wedding. And okay, she is our source, but who were the participants? Well, there were a lot of participants, and so that's a bigger list of people. Location. Where did it happen? Or where did your interview take place? Okay, a little ambiguity. If you're doing the interview in Chiang Mai and the event took place in Hanoi? I don't know. I would put down the location for the event itself rather than the interview. Somewhere right down where you did the interview, because we need that information. And then there's description. All right, the text field, this is for vernacular text. And we're not going to deal with that today. But this is where the notebook section and the text and word section are linked. Anthropology codes or categories. These are the codes that you put on each bit of information that you've got there. What is it about? So this particular one, all right, this was about getting back the bride price. Now, what happened here was a man and a woman married. The man or the man's family gave some money or wealth of some kind to the woman's family. We call that bride price. And for some reason, the marriage ended. And now the man's family wants the bride price back. They no longer have the woman they paid for, so they want the payment back. So, what are the different categories? Well, one of them, we can use the number 6844. It means it's about offenses involving sex and marriage. 681 is about sanctions or punishments. 583 is the mode of marriage, that is, how marriage is done. 578, in-group antagonisms, arguments within a group. 617, bilinear kin groups. And 685, property offenses. So we can put all of those codes on it, and when we are interested in investigating one of those areas, Flex will help us get this bit of information to use to put into our whole analysis. Now, let's stop and look at the kinds of information we're putting in here. Some of these things are good to have to put the information in lists. So, the description of what happened. It makes sense that that's just something you write in there, you type it in. But what about the names of people? if you're writing in the names, sometimes you might accidentally misspell the name, just hit one of the keys in the wrong order. If you're just typing in the name, the computer will not be able to tell you that Steve and the E, just switch the V and the E around and you've got S-T-V-E-E instead of S-T-E-V-E. As far as the computer knows, those are two different people. How about we can get around that problem if we use a list? And so Steve and Stephen, and there's two ways of spelling Stephen, all of those people are the same thing. In Manobo, it's even worse, because everybody has a Manobo name given them at some point early in life. Frequently, and then if they go to school later on, or if they've got very much interaction with the outside world, they'll have what the Manobo calls school name. So, Gafi can't be said by people out who aren't Manobo or Kararai. They don't have to use. And so, Gafi, if he's speaking with outsiders, he says he's Gulfi. Actually, he says he's Gulfi because the Philippine languages usually don't have an F or the Manobo sound either. So he becomes Gulfi instead of Gafi. Most people, though, don't call him by his first name. Instead, they call him father of his firstborn. So he's Amaidadi. But then there's also a nickname that you use with somebody else. So Meg and I call each other the same thing if we're in Manobo country, Owe. And it's what we call each other. Gafi, my name for him was Bak Bak, and his name for me was Bak Bak. And if other Manobo are talking to me about him, they'll say, well, your Bak Bak went to town yesterday. And so everybody has at least 4 names, and probably 10. How do you make sure that you're writing about the same person? How does the computer know? You use a list. And the way that you, oops, oh no. What? Okay. Over here, another section of Fieldworks is lists. And over here, we're in the lists part. There is a list of people. And in this list of people are several names. One of them is Ruth Schmidt. She was the researcher. Another name in here is Everett, and he was the informant in this particular interview that we were looking at. So you can record this information about a given individual. You can record as much or as little of it as you want. So here, the gender is recorded. Very useful bit of information. I recommend putting it in. If you're in a great hurry and you're only writing the notes for yourself and you know the gender of that person, well, maybe you could leave it out. A really nice thing here is the alias. Alias means another name for someone. And this is something that I used a good deal in my note-taking. I was working with people who were having trouble with others taking their land. They were attempting to gain rights to their land. The logging company had a number of paid guards who were responsible for killing over 50 Manobo in 1 year. The Manobo wanted their story told, but we also had to be careful that the holding company wouldn't be able to say exactly who was involved in telling about that or in a particular incident. So I used names that nobody who wasn't Lenovo would know who that person was. One of them was the head of the church association. The church was very much in the forefront of trying to gain land rights. He had a nickname that only people who were close to him, no non-Lenovo would know. And that's the name that I used in my notes. But his real name was in here. But in my notes, his real name never showed up. Well, one thing you can do is go up to the edit up. Okay, you've got insert, format, tools. Right there above the, you can see person. You look right above it up there. You've got insert, format, and tools. So you can use insert there. If you're not sure how to do it there, go up to the edit. And, nope, it's not going to do it for us. But let's insert a person here. So we can insert a person. And, so, all right, and I don't know how Heather comes out in French. If we were in Africa, we might have a different version of it. And if we, if you're going to be using some particular person a great deal, you might want to use an abbreviation. So, I could put an abbreviation, short description, and so at this point, we've got Heather in there in our people list. Okay, and we'll say that she is one of the researchers. So there we've got it. Now let's go back over to our notebook section. Okay, we've changed this list. So, who are the people who could be researchers? Now, if you click down here in description, and it looks normal, shall I say. If you click up in researchers, see those three little dots over at the right-hand side of the field? Okay. The technical word for that is ellipsis. It means there's a continuation. And if you click on the ellipsis, it opens up that list of people. So, now you'll notice the trouble that I had typing Heather properly earlier. If I just typed her name in, the computer might think that there are three different people, and it's actually one person. But since we've used the list, it's going to be just one person. So I click Heather and say, okay. And now there are two researchers there. But we've gotten to them from the people list. In the same way, there's the cursor. If you click in locations, you can see the three dots over on the side. Again, the value of having a locations list instead of just typing them in is not only that you might accidentally type the wrong thing, but also a particular location may have more than one name. It may have a name in the original language, it may have another name in the local language, it may have another name in the whatever international language is common in that area. The other thing with these lists is you can nest the list. That is, you can have groups inside a list. So, let's go to the locations list. And here we are. All right. And you notice these are all the locations, but here in Timer there's this little plus by it. And if I click on the plus, you see some detail. So there is a specific location in Tyler, which is at my house, which is Ruth Schmidt's house. And it was important that there were things that happened there that didn't happen out in the village at large, that she made it a different location. This is often helpful if you're working in a language group and within a particular town there are several locations that are often important. So the church, maybe something happens and it's at the court or the police station, or there's often more than one church. So which church are we talking about? Those are all different locations. And you can have counties or regions or provinces. So with the Renovo, they thought of it as 3 different areas. Well, actually 4 of them. So there's the Valana area, the Alum area, the Dudi area, and the Lusoi area. And those are the names of particular villages, but they also use them as area names. So, how precise do you want it to be? My recommendation is be as exact as is useful to you. Do not be more exact than you have to be. So, Ruth Schmidt, she said at my house was an important location. She could have said, made the coffee table on the front porch a separate location. Probably doesn't matter. So, and did it happen in this little part of Chiang Mai or not? Do you have to say that it happened in Tambon Badak? Is it good enough to just say Abdano or Chiang Mai? Decide, but try not to be more exact or precise than you have to be. The reason is, if you start to get too precise, it takes too long. And it takes so long to even think about it that you don't want to do it.